the way to do it? All right, so boom.
Got it.
All right, so yeah, we just wanted to get together, kind of debrief about the presentations and service learning stuff. And I know Cheryl wasn't able to make it that day, but stopped by and
Right.
saw the posters and like some of the things she saw, and just, you know, touching base on everything. Something easy before the holidays, Dr. Scheller.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was, really interested in it, Professor, and I don't know, what do you like to be called? Daniel? Professor?
Daniel's fine.
Whatever. Daniel? Okay. And I was talking with Manny. We have quite a few conversations lately, Manny, together that we get to go on really good there. And I was really interested in it. And I was so sorry that I wasn't able to make that. So I'd like to know, so I can let my audience know, what is the service learning project? What's behind it? What was it about? And also, I really, as I talk to Manny, I want people to understand that it isn't something that is in the planning, has happened. It's giving ideals as to what can happen. So if you could kind of fill in them on the background that what is the service learning project? What's the purpose? Why was this done?
Yeah, so this was conducted through, UNO's got the Service Learning Academy, and they have a staff through the Community Engagement Center where they work with organizations and professors in classes to do projects. Usually, as was with our project, there's an organization in the community in Omaha that has an interest in projects or getting ideas, or getting some research done by students in a class. And so like last year, so a year ago, I did a service learning project with Together Inc. and Heartland Worker Center. And they asked my class to come up with some logic models for youth voter engagement. So last year, the students did a youth voter engagement. They interviewed some individuals in the community and some students, and came up with ideas to help promote youth civic engagement. So with this particular project with the posters, Manny is, as an MSUS or Urban Studies alum, we had been talking, and he asked if it was possible to do some sort of service learning, and step in, Manny, too, and correct me if anything I say is inaccurate. Asked us to kind of come up with some ideas for the built environment around kind of the block areas around 24th and Lake that potentially Spark could put into some grant proposals. Whether that be, I think like the mayor's office has like a $5,000 grant, or there's all kinds of other grant opportunities. And so the students were asked to kind of come to the 24th and Lake areas. I think it was the second week of September, kind of take a tour, learn a little bit about the history, a little bit about the infrastructure and the physical built environment. And then based upon their research, what they read, kind of come up with some potential ideas that an organization like Spark could put into grant applications to do some built environment improvements, or add some built environment project ideas in areas that aren't necessarily being utilized, like the area between the two buildings by Spark, which I think is owned by an individual. Some ideas about the community garden, like what could potentially be done to promote it, to increase use within the area, increase maybe walkability, increase individuals in the community interacting in a social setting. And so just kind of some ideas for some built environment projects that could be used. Nothing that's definite. I mean, they're students, they're not elected officials. I don't even think any of them. I think one student may work in a nonprofit organization, but yeah, just to kind of present some ideas and then kind of bring it to the community in a forum to get some discussion and debate about, individuals may like, what individuals may not like, what may work, what may not work. And so the students did that within about, I guess, 6 weeks. Does that cover that, Manny?
Yeah, and I'll just add just real quick is, a lot of the projects were based on the importance of public spaces. They're really the heart of communities in some ways. As far as the physical environment, you think about parks and places where people congregate and can get together, where they can protest or party, all those different things like that. But yeah, like Dr. Scheller or Daniel said, we propose, the area directly around where we are, which, one group took up and came up with some ideas. But then I kind of pointed them, whether it was that garden that's down, that big giant farm garden that's down there on like 25th Street, because I know that the union's been working a lot on that. So I was able to connect them with that group just so, they could bounce ideas off to the people who had access to that property. And then with the Bryant Center, we had a group and they went down and talked to Sundiata for a while and got some input on that too. So it was based on theories and ideas. And then also, some engagement with the property owners and such like that. And then, kind of just going through the process and then getting feedback from community in an event. And yeah, so that on top of and in between everything Daniel said.
Thank you, Manny, for pointing that out, because I think that's really important that you gave the background on that. This wasn't just walked in, they decided to do this. There was engagement with the property owners so that people understand that there was some involvement. Ideals were given from different individuals who own that property as to what they might like to see. And we know if you own the property, you have the kind of like the right to do what you want with it.
Yeah. Right.
And so I think it's important that you brought that out, is that because from my background, I know how much Manny's going to be, but I'm very involved in the community and I get input from community members. And that's been one of the biggest things, is that, we're never involved. But this isn't a project. This project did involve the property owners. And the important thing is, it's not something that's in stone. It was just ideals given for the physical area that could be, or what somebody might see as an ideal. So
yeah.
I'm going to probably re-emphasize that, because I think that is so important, is to get that out, because, Manny, the first time somebody sees those pictures, that's going to be the thing, is that, oh, here we go again. So I think it's important, but I really like some of your ideals, or the group's ideals that were put out, and Manny's going to get me or be able to drop those into this presentation so that people can kind of see that, and then we can send them to Manny's location, is to see them. So I think, this is a way that I'm trying anyway, is to get communication between those who are in doing things within the community, as well as the community being made aware and transparent. I think it's for me, it's a big issue. And I know that people who talk to me and I talk to, that is a big issue. So I think that it's really important that we do put that out, is that these are theories, ideals, suggestions given with communication, and it's a service learning project. And maybe we'll kind of encourage some more people to become involved in service learning projects.
Yeah.
So.
And that's a big part of it too. I mean, outside of just, I think that's what makes it holistic, if you will, is I think a benefit to the students, because they get to go through a process which, if they're in urban studies, they'll be working in communities in the future. So, it's, good experience for them, but then also I think for a community, it's, starting to, think about like ideas, ways to improve your surroundings and such like that, which I think sometimes it's lost in reacting to what is going on, and it's opportunity to start to build some of those thoughts, ideas of what people want to see happen, right? And have at least some starting points for that conversation. So
Yeah, and the emphasis on that this isn't even phase one of anything.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, and I think that some of the students thought that, got the perception that people thought that this was like an outside group coming in saying this is what needs to be done, or this is what's going to happen. And this isn't, I mean, none of this is actually real or in the only written form that it's in is on those posters. So it's just kind of, in a short period of time, in 6 weeks, they were able to kind of talk to a few individuals and kind of do some walking tours and research on their own. And this is just kind of a flurry of ideas, and that could then be debated and discussed. And these groups of students, they're done with the class. So, because a few of them kind of had mentioned that some of the comments at the presentation were that individuals in the audience thought that the group of students were going to come back, so that they were giving the ideas to the students, like giving them feedback, and then the students could, kind of revise. But yeah, they're off in 5 different directions because they're done with the class. So yeah.
Well, bringing that point out, what is the possibility, and I'll throw this out to both of them, what is the possibility of taking this and expanding it to more community involvement, taking some of those ideals that maybe the next class or just maybe getting the community involved to say, hey, this is a project. Why can't we take this to grant people or somewhere, or make adjustments or changes? What's that possibility?
Yeah, that's a real possibility. The class is offered, let's see, every year, and even some of the students had mentioned in class that that they hope that maybe there would be, that this wasn't the end of the process, that maybe there'll be some revisions and then another group comes in. It's very possible, either in a course that I teach this course every fall. That could be done again in the fall. The spring, I'm only teaching PA classes, but we have a ton of faculty that are on staff that do service learning with organizations, so that it could continue on either in the summer or next fall or next spring. So that, and the Service Learning Academy is really good. They have a graduate student that is assigned to each project, so to each organization / class / professor that helps to facilitate and help with that. So it's very much possible that this could turn into something in the summer or in the fall of next year.
Especially if Cheryl wants to, help out with that. That would make it even easier and more likely. And I'll just, but I'll throw in, that's again one of the reasons why we're doing the Fabric Lab here is, to create something like what you're talking about, Cheryl, community led, but also I think it's good to have like the resources of UNO.
Definitely.
Even like we have not done a good job, Dr. Scheller, of getting the survey out, like just because we've had so many things. But Cheryl, one thing that we have is we do have a survey that we're trying to get out to more folks in the community, talk about like what sort of courses, curriculum, et cetera, they would like to see here in this space on 24th Street from UNO. And then we can get into the details of, is it, do you get the credits or a certificate and the technical things that Dr. Scheller has to work on with the UNO bureaucracy and such. But I think that there's an opportunity for something like that as well, so that, it's not only working on, the projects themselves would be good to continue, but I think there's also opportunity for, kind of a, I'll put it in the lens of economic development, like developing skills within the community with community members of all ages that could be useful as a career or to go alongside the career that they have. So yeah,
I think that'd be great, and definitely put that in on my plan here, is so we'll definitely have more conversations, Manny and I, because I think that's great. And the more that we open it up to getting that community involvement, I think you can even get more. And the more conversations we have and the more involvement we have, we can open it up to more projects. that may be able to come to fruition, that, these things can happen. And it can be through the community and not necessarily just one organization or that, because we tend to fail that, and that too many things happen in North Omaha that aren't driven by the North Omaha community. So I think, that's something, man, we definitely need to work on, is how we can make this be more involved from the community participation. And be great is to even have you, Dr., come out and talk about what can be done as a service learning project, and maybe you develop it as a UNO community service project.
Yeah.
Just not, maybe using with that group. So
Right.
I think this is opening up a way for a lot of things to come to the community to get us back to being more involved and a live community. So I think that's great.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And I think with the survey, once that goes out and we get kind of an idea of kind of topics or things that individuals want to learn about, that is kind of, that we have buy-in from all the community most of the community members, and that there's kind of a large agreement on that, hey, these are the topics that we want covered, these are the projects we'd like covered, and that it kind of gets a wide approval, so that it isn't kind of a sense that there's just a bunch of students coming in and trying to say that you all need to do this and this and this.
You need a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's great. And Manny, I'm going to hold you to it that you're going to get the survey to me.
Yeah,
I know your plate is really full, but
I know.
I won't forget.
Yeah, well, and I'll see you even later this afternoon. But yeah, I think that's something I want to get on. It's just been one of those things with like a torrent of other projects and trying to finish those up. It's been hard to get it out there like I want. But I think we still have it, and I think with you and some other community members input, and putting it in the places where it needs to be, and nudging people to complete the survey. That's the biggest part. That we can get that feedback and have a good starting spot. So yeah, and I'm here to do it.
If we can find individuals in the community that can teach or hold these sessions, or that are interested in hosting events or engaging in these modules or teaching these modules, then I think it'd be really effective, because I'm not even from Omaha, so it's kind of like for me to come in and just talk about what I know about urban studies may not resonate in different geographical regions in Omaha, whether it be west, north, south Omaha. So if we can get individuals from the community that are willing and want to kind of teach and kind of share knowledge, I think that would be even more successful.
Yeah, I think Professor Weston has a good ring to it. So yeah.
That's not happening. But anyway, thank you. I always tell people flattery will get you nowhere with me. I think these are things that we need to bring out, and I'm really I'm really excited about working more within the community, is getting information out to the community and seeing. This year I'm starting to see more people becoming involved, wanting to hear about and see, and holding our elected officials and other community people and other sources, organizations, holding their feet to the fire about knowing what's going on in North Omaha. So I'm really excited about it, and I've met Manny, and we're going to be hopefully working together to get this accomplished, because I do see a lot. And I think maybe we can come up with some other locations, maybe those posters could be where we might be able to put that out. I know I'd like to, I'm going to put them out on the website, but maybe you can think about maybe some other sites that people go to a lot. I'm thinking, some of our community I'm just throwing out like Adams Park for right now, is maybe there's a way that we could have something like that put up there, but making sure that there's some
Disclaimer.
disclaimer on
Yeah.
it, that that wasn't the word, but that'll work, a disclaimer. But I do think, more people who see it, and somebody who, if one person sees it and they tell somebody else about it, then you get that conversation going and you get feedback. Sometimes it's positive and sometimes it's negative, but the point is that it's out there and the truth behind it. So I'm going to put some more on your plate, Manny.
Oh, okay.
We're going to, this is what keeps you going.
Right.
Be honest, you know that. You look
Yeah.
for things
Well,
to do.
no,
You really do.
I signed up for it, and it's
Mhm.
it's good to have you there to remind me of the things. So yeah, but I think
Great.
I like your idea of having the posters, or maybe somehow we condense the posters or something like that. But I hear what you're saying, having something visual in a couple different locations. Then we could also put the QR code that we have to the survey on there too. So then maybe
there's another good way to get that out. But I think that if you would get things out like that, you might get more interest in being involved, as well as you're answering your survey. And I'm thinking of something else too that I might put on my website to get people keyed up. If there's a little something out there to carrot, sometimes people will do that. They'll just answer the survey, and whether they answered honestly or not, but they'll answer the survey if they're going to get something. So I'm thinking of something that I can get for that. So that'd be great. Okay. Anything else you'd like to add? Because I was really, like I said, I really was upset that I wasn't able to make that. But I think there's so much good ideals of people want to see development along 24th Street, and not just, how should I say, the entertainment and the sports, the culture. We want to see economics. So maybe that is something else that could be a service learning project in the future. What things could be businesses and so forth along there.
Well, and I think that's where, through urban studies, I think something to look at is like economic geography and things like that. So, and I think one of the main things I think of when I think about economic development and economic geography is like agglomeration effect. So like what businesses do well next to each other. And, Cheryl, like we're putting together this bus tour.
Right.
So part of that conversation, at least I think, I'm not the one covering it, but at least so far when we've been talking about it, is like this idea of a cultural district that is legislation and something that can be implemented. And, people's minds immediately go to the entertainment part of that, which is all right. And there's like economics in that, but, there's also creative districts and things like that, which is not too far from, I think, the intent of a cultural district where, those type of industries, when placed next to each other, have like a, what's it called? Like a gestalt effect, I guess. So the combination of the individual parts are greater than the whole. I probably messed that whole definition up. But anyway, so for instance, for an example, like if you have like marketing companies next to arts organizations, next to another cultural institution like a venue space, things like that, the marketing company does better because it has those resources and things to work with. And then we have a good marketing company, you bring in other businesses and they benefit because they have good branding and so on and so forth. And it's just kind of a spillover effect that happens. So it's not just the entertainment, that's maybe a part of it, but I think, to your point, Cheryl, came all the way back around to say you're right. Yeah, how does that feed into like a larger economic conversation? And housing goes into that too, and the range of housing, because if there's nowhere for anyone to live who works or would want to work in the area, then there's becomes a problem there too. So anyway, that's my course for the day. We'll have another class later.
Yeah. Well, I think the point is, and maybe you went around the long way, but I think from what I'm hearing is that we want more economic. This ideal that I know that like maybe going across from where you're at, the fabrics, you know, the OSBM building is going to be redone, and that's mixed use. But we're talking about the whole aspect of 24th. And I think people are looking at mainly like if you go to Midtown or if you go to Benson District, that's what people want to see, because when you have those, you have businesses, you have small businesses, and that's what's needed in North Omaha in order to bring bigger businesses, such as, you know, one of the things that we've been told time and time again for years is why a grocery store or something won't come in, but because of, you know, the rooftops and there's no this. But if you have other smaller businesses, like there's no one little restaurant or something to maybe on 24th Street. We need to have more that, and those are economic, because those are people who are having that as their way to bring economic development into. And so I think that, you know, how can we do, and I'm trying to think of, you know, maybe as a service learning project too, is maybe get ideas. What can you, how can you develop, say, hey, this could be here and here. And so I think that would be one great way to get people from maybe such negative feelings and comments of what's happening to 24th Street. So I just wanted to throw that out. Okay. Go ahead.
In the building going across from the Fabric Lab, I forget what business that is, because they tore down a building, and what's going in there?
So it's North End Teleservices. So I mean, that's who's doing the development. So from my understanding, it'll be their headquarters. So they're largest Black employer in the state. So there'll be some jobs there. And I think even with that, you just increase your chance of getting a grocery store, right? With that many employees. But I think they're also looking at doing some housing to go along with that, and then have some additional commercial space for other businesses. So it's kind of like, it's I think probably the biggest opportunity for 24th and Lake, and I don't know if there's a bigger one, I guess.
I would probably agree with you on that 24th and Lake, but I think what people are looking at is going south of Lake Street is, you know, we've got still got some buildings there that are, nothing's being done with them. What can be done? What kind of businesses? You know, just even the small, I think of, I was out, where was it? Off of Maple Street, West Maple. And it was just, you know, I'm like, well, why don't we have this on 24th Street? And there was like scooters, trying to think of, there was another restaurant, and a print shop in between. So why don't we have those types of things along a certain few blocks, 3 or 4 blocks? I know that supposedly North End is going to have space for multiple businesses, and then housing on top. But what about going south and making that as well? And then there's a few spots going north on there 24th Street when we're looking at that. So I just think that, you know, it would be great if we had some kind of ideals and ways to do that.
Yep, I agree. I think I could talk about some of those places going south and a few of them going north, but I think we'll wait till the bus tour, because we'll have less time then. So.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to throw in on that?
Yeah, just real quick. So did North, and I've never been able to really figure out politically how popular or valued it is, but I know the city council gives out TIF, tax increment financing, like Halloween candy. And
got that right.
So is there, and then there's, I mean, you want to make sure that the development, if it's used TIF, would fit with the neighborhood, and that citizens that live there want certain development. Did North End get TIF to do?
They're not at that point yet. They're still at the planning. They just acquired the property. They have to go through and do architectural renderings and so on and so forth.
They will.
Process. Yeah, and
they will.
And,
they will.
Yeah. Well,
They
I would
will
assu-
get
I
TIF,
assume
they will
so,
get TIF funding.
but yeah.
I mean, it's just kind of like, and I like you, the way you name that TIF, because that's the way I feel sometimes when I go down to the city council meeting to hear that.
Yeah.
And I've been the opponent more than I've been the proponent, let's say that. And that's what I feel like, and I'm going to remember this too, is it's just like giving out candy at Halloween time, because if you look at the criteria of what TIF was originally, it doesn't really fit that, but everybody gets TIF money now. Anybody who's going to do a development is going to get some TIF money unless they don't ask for it. So I'm not a bettor because I don't like to lose. But Manny, I'm going to bet on this one. They will get TIF money.
Right.
And you have to be careful with TIF too, because apparently Blackstone is not, people are being priced out in Blackstone.
Well, that's the whole other conversation that me and Cheryl have had often, and it's about that anti-displacement. And I mean, even I think, I'm pretty sure I was talking with Cheryl that, if you wanted a textbook case of gentrification, you just you go in a time machine and go to Blackstone like 5-7 years ago, and then fast forward to today. That's a definite, I guess, concern and valid concern and potential threat, especially in North Omaha. So,
yeah, it is. It's a reality in North Omaha. And it's kind of funny that you brought that up, man, because I went and was speaking to the planning board when it hasn't come before the city council yet, but it was at the planning board. And it's the area that's over off of 38 and I think is that Dodge Street, that's going to tear down the 3 and put up the 131 apartments. And what I spoke on was, you're taking away 21 affordable housing units. Oh, but you're being real generous because you're giving 10 back. And it's like, oh, really? And I was like, so I just said to the people there in the audience, hey, I'm from North Omaha, and we've been having this for years. So you folks better get used to it, because this is what has become. And as Manny said, the Blackstone area there is a perfect example. And people are just saying, they didn't think when all this was starting, they did not realize what was going to happen to them, but they have found out. They've had the rude awakening as what has happened. And, I think it's going to continue to happen all around in, I would say, the northeast, southeast part of Omaha. But
I think, I would say all of Omaha, unless we have some policies, so no one's safe.
Well, you might be true on that fact, but I think when I start heading past about 90th and died, I'm not going to have a problem with that.
Well, yeah, I hear that.
I'm going to be realistic. They used to say 72nd Street, but you see what's happened at 72nd Street has come about. So I'm going to say I'm not, but it could happen. Probably not my lifetime. But, well, I want to thank both of you for this information. And I really want to continue, I think, conversations with you, is that this is just an ideal way is to be able to get it. And I'm going to be, if I'm biased, I'll just say it, I'm more interested in North Omaha. And I just think this is an ideal way, is to bring the UNO collaboration with the community of Omaha to be able to see what can be done, look past what it is right now, and give hope. Because a lot of us just don't have a lot of hope that we're going to become involved. But if we have things like this happen, projects where we get our voices heard and have that transparency, then I do think that we can make some changes. So I'm going to leave it for you guys get the last word. I'll give it to Manny to be short.
Oh, man.
And then I'll give it to you, Professor, because he can, if you have to kind of like get him in.
See, you know what?
Manny.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say you said it best, Cheryl. So that's my last word. So
All right. And Professor, would you like to have any closing comments on our
Yeah,
session?
what would you like? Basically, how can I help, and what would you like me to kind of do
Okay.
moving forward?
I will definitely get back with you. And I tell
Okay.
people, do not tell me that. Some people you can say, oh, get back in touch with me or call me or here's some. I do follow up.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
will call you. So I
Okay.
think I'd like to have, that kind of
Yeah.
conversation and just where we can talk and have an idea. So that'd be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, that'd be, and I've got some ideas about city. I've been really fascinated with city council, and I think if there's, I think it's a very complicated way that they run meetings and the policies, but I think there's a lot, I think there's a lot of ways that, people that aren't developers or that aren't
Yeah.
policy type people that work in government can really try to extract stuff from the city council and try to, use, the fact that they are pushing certain policies and it seems to only be going to certain areas, I think there's some level of that, that there can be greater engagement with the city council. And like you said, you can hold their feet to the fire a little bit more. But
Definitely.
you have to kind
You
of
are
know
on my first call. I will let you have the weekend off. But starting out next week, get ready.
yeah. You got homework, Dr. Scheller.
Yeah.
Thank you both
Sounds
so
good.
much.
All right.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye.